Hello, Channel 22 viewers, and welcome to another program in our series called Eye on Education, everything that's educational in the town of Montville. My name is Dave Rowley. I am the chairman of the Montville Board of Education, and my guest today is Mr. Ted Richmond, who has recently been named as Montville's 2014 Teacher of the Year. And would like to interview Ted for a few minutes for your interest and mine as well. I did work with Ted while I was here at Montville High School teaching, but over the past decade or so, he has been going on to some of the things that I'm not familiar with. So I'll be learning some things about Ted Richmond along with you. So welcome, Ted. Thanks for coming aboard.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on to the studio today. Let's start with what it is that got you into the education field. I'd have to say that probably your early education, maybe elementary education. What town did you grow up in, actually?
Well, I did my primary, kindergarten, first and second grade. We lived in Lebanon, and then we moved to Waterford, and I spent the rest of my schooling in the Waterford schools. So, as far as what got me into education, I always joke that my mother knew I was going to be a teacher before I did. I really hadn't given teaching much of a thought until college. When I was a kid, my mother got into a really bad car accident and had to spend about 6 weeks in a rehabilitation hospital.
I see.
So when I saw them working on her and kind of bringing her back from a pretty dark place, at that moment I wanted to be a physical therapist. So I was you'll like this, I was a science guy in high school. I loved my biology classes and my anatomy and physiology classes and things like that. So when I went to college, I wanted to be a physical therapist. That's what I went for. And freshman year, I got a D in chemistry. All my students know this story, so if they're watching.
It's just high school chemistry, huh?
No, my freshman year of college, I got a D in chemistry, and my advisor said, maybe this isn't quite for you, and so I kind of reassessed and reevaluated, and I decided I was going to be a teacher. And when I told my mother, she basically said, "Well, we were just kind of waiting for you to figure it out. We've known that for a long time." So.
Well, back up a little bit. Where did you do your high school years?
I went to Waterford High School.
Waterford High.
Yep. Class of '92, and played baseball for Jerry Russo, which is kind of ironic since I teach with Alex now, and enjoyed my experience there.
And went on to college. What was what's your alma mater?
Went on to the University of Connecticut and spent 5 years there as part of they have an integrated bachelor's-master's program. So after 2 years, you apply to be in the program. I got in. And after 4 years, you get your bachelor's. Then you go back for 1 year of grad work, and you come out with your master's. So it was a nice deal. I did my student teaching, did an internship at East Hartford High School, my student teaching at Tolland High School, and got out and got the job here, got hired here 2 months after graduation, and I was 22 years old, and that was it.
You were on fast track. There's no doubt about it.
It all worked out. I grew up in Quaker Hill, so I moved about 4 miles from where I had grown up, so it just kind of worked out that way.
Started a family?
Yeah. I have 3 children. My daughter Holly is in 7th grade. My daughter Nora is in 4th grade, and my son Eric just started kindergarten in the full-day kindergarten at Oakdale. And they're doing well. They love school.
Oh, that's wonderful.
It's going very well.
And I hear your wife has also joined the teaching ranks.
My wife was a teacher at Lebanon Elementary School for 3 years, and then we had our first child, and she decided she was going to take a year off to stay home. And then 12 and a half years later, 1 year turned into 12, and then so now she just started her career back up again. She's at Murphy, teaching kindergarten. So.
Well, that's wonderful. That's wonderful to have her aboard in the same district that you're teaching in. I'm sure that that's going to be a nice setup, especially with your children also in the schools here in Montville. It's wonderful. Now, let's talk a little bit about your assignment here at Montville High School.
Sure.
Let's talk about the early years of what you taught, the department you were in, and then build right to where you are today as department chair. Would you do that for us?
Sure. When I started, like I said, I was 22. Looked about 16, as people who started the same year I did would be able to remember. Yeah, and I taught sophomores my first year, and then from then on, I primarily became a teacher of freshman English. I did that. I'm still doing that, but I taught solely freshmen for a long time, and was involved in several other things throughout the school. I coached baseball here for 11 years with Phil Orby, and really, really enjoyed my time doing that. Made a lot of nice kind of lifelong friendships. Still friends with a lot of former players, former coaches. Enjoyed that a lot. I still coach the academic decathlon team with Ben Hayes. So still heavily involved in that. And about 2008, our previous department chair moved on to become an assistant principal, leaving that vacant, and I applied for that job. So I've been the department chair of English since March of '08. And
how many are working for you in that department?
We have 9 teachers in the department, including myself, and I also work with Julie Perry, who's our library media specialist. So
right. So are they all full-timers?
All full-time, yes. 8 of them are 8 of them are tenured, and we have a new first-year teacher this year, Chris Ouellette, who many people are familiar with, came on
right.
Full-time.
Well, that's always exciting,
Oh,
bringing
it's very
a freshman teacher along. It's always a good time.
It's very nice. Chris did a student teaching with me too. I've been a cooperating teacher and team mentor for a number of years, and so it's nice when it works out that somebody that you've helped come along and
it is nice.
Gets to do this professionally with us. He's doing a great job.
Let's talk about the position of department chair. You have these 9 folks that work for you. What responsibilities do you have in that capacity?
The responsibilities are now I have some evaluative responsibilities. So under our new evaluation system, everybody's going to be evaluated somewhere between 4 and 6 times every year, and I, as department chair, I'll do 3 of those. And so I do go into classes, I do evaluate, and do observations. My job, my role beyond that is pretty much just a kind of a liaison between between the teaching corps and the administrators. I try to take information from administration and relay it to teachers and answer any questions that they might have. Try to offer support for them. I do scheduling and budgeting.
Okay, sure.
I handle a lot of the things that a lot of other people wouldn't necessarily want to handle, so they can concentrate on teaching. And so that's what I try to do for my guys, and they do a tremendous job. They make my job a lot easier than it.
You have very nice people working for you.
Yeah, they're great.
There's no doubt about that. How is this new Common Core affecting your job as department chair?
Well, right now we've spent the last 2 summers, and we'll be hopefully finishing it next summer, taking our old curriculum documents and revising them to reflect Common Core state standards. So we've been revising a lot of our units and just making them reflect the same language that exists within the Common Core. The good thing is it's a lot of good strategies and that we've been employing already. So it's not really a complete overhaul of what we were doing before. It's just taking the good things that we were doing before, trying to enhance them, trying to make them better, and trying to fit within the current language. And with the move from capped, we're no longer doing capped, moving towards the smarter balance testing, which is a different type of testing. We're now kind of revising our end of the unit assignments, our end of the unit assessments to more accurately reflect what students are going to be asked to do on those types of assessments. So there's a lot of kind of rearranging of things that we have done before, trying to add new things, trying to make more of a focus on reading, reading and nonfiction reading in particular. So we're trying to take nonfiction reading to supplement our fiction units, give the kids a little bit more of a well-rounded reading experience. Trying to get them college ready for as far as their writing is concerned, particularly as you get into the higher grades, and just trying to make it as great an experience for our kids as we can.
Is it fair to say that what you do here at Montville High School in your department is compatible with other high schools in the state? So if a student were to transfer in or transfer out, whatever the case may be, their experience in language arts in the new school would be pretty much as it is here at Montville. Is that a fair assessment?
I think it's a fair assessment. We offer a lot of college level courses here, particularly in English. We offer 5 college level courses where kids can get college credit, and the writing that they're expected to do, the reading that they're expected to do in those courses really reflect what they're asked to do at freshman and sophomore level courses in college. A lot of our writing is based off of especially at that senior level, is based off of the UConn writing rubric and UConn writing expectations. We just got a great email from a parent about 2 weeks ago from a parent of a student who graduated last year and is now starting his freshman year at college. And she was talking about how happy she was with the writing education that he had received in some of those courses I was referring to, particularly with his teacher, who was Mrs. Burrell, and how he's doing as well, if not better, than any of the students in his current class, receiving top marks in his class, and so those are great things to hear. We love hearing that.
Oh, it is.
We think we do a really a superior job in that regard, and a lot of our courses that aren't college level courses are working off of the same templates, just maybe at a different pace with some different materials. So, we're really trying to raise the expectations of what our students are able to do in reading, writing, and probably most importantly, thinking, becoming critical thinkers.
Let's change gears a little bit to the organization called New England Association of Schools and Colleges, NEASC for short.
Okay.
I know you have an involvement there as well, and that's a huge segment of time. I believe it's every 10 years, we have a team come in from this organization to see how well Montville High is progressing in certain areas of curriculum and that kind of thing. Tell us about your involvement in that.
Well, when we had our last visitation, which was in 2006, I was approached by some colleagues and asked if I would be on the steering committee, and that was before I was a department chair. So I agreed to be on the steering committee, which gave me an overview of the process of what NEASC, when they come in, what types of things they're looking for, and they evaluate really the school as a whole, from curriculum and instruction to how you allocate for school resources, community resources, our leadership structure, all of that. They
facilities.
Really, facilities. They look at everything, and so that, I found that to be a pretty interesting process. I actually went out on some visitations, which we're trying to get other staff members to do, and a number of our staff members have been out on visitations of other schools. And I think that's good to get a different perspective, because we kind of get locked in with what happens here, and it's good to see how other schools operate as well. So when that process ended, I became the co-chair with Christine Woodman on the follow-up committee, which was the 5-year follow-up committee. You have to, they send a bunch of recommendations that you have to kind of work toward. And so we did that for 5 years. We wrote our 5-year report, which was well received, and kind of start the process all over again. So this time around, Christine and I will be the co-chairs for the visitation, which will happen in the fall of 2016. And so this year's, we're kind of planning and preparing this year and last year. And next year we'll be doing a complete self-study, which involves all the staff and community members and students and really all the stakeholders of the school. And so we'll end with a large kind of self-study of all of those aspects and indicators that the visiting team will be looking for when they come in. And then they'll come in the fall of 16 and you know, assess us and give us their feedback.
And it's an ongoing process, as I heard you say. It doesn't end when that visiting team leaves after a week or so. You know, looking at the process here, the interim, the 10 years in between, is very time intensive as well. Absolutely. But it's interesting to note that all 6 of our schools here in Montville, the 3 elementary schools as well as Tile Middle School, Montville High, and the alternative high school, are all in this process, as I recall. Am I right about that?
NEASC will certainly be, I believe there's a different organization for the elementary.
I think there is.
The elementary levels. And I'm not involved in that, so I don't really know too much about that. But
same thing with the middle school, probably.
I think so, yeah. So we focus on what happens
just on the high school here. Well, you are a busy guy. There's no doubt about it. You have a lot of irons in the fire for an employee here at Montville High School, and I can see why you have been chosen by your peers as the Teacher of the Year, and we're very proud of you in that respect. But there's one more thing that I would like to ask of you, and that is, do you have a vision for education in the future? Do you see rapid changes going from when you were first hired here to the present, and what might happen from now until, well, another 10 or 15 years from now in education? Do you have any kind of vision that you could pass along to our folks who are listening to this?
Well, I think, you know, you touched on it earlier with a lot of what's happening with Common Core and what's happening with the level of expectation of our students. We're really trying to get our students prepared for what they can expect in the workplace in the 21st century. We have these lists of 21st century learning expectations and what they're going to be expected to do. And it's an emphasis on technology, it's an emphasis on collaboration, an emphasis on speaking and presenting skills. Writing, certainly. Writing and reading are always going to be important skills to be able to utilize. So how much is going to change? I think the expectations on teachers are already changing quite a bit. We're seeing that with our new evaluation system. It used to be where a tenured teacher really didn't get observed except for maybe once every 3 years. And now it's going to be 4 or 5 or even 6 observations for everybody every year, which I don't think is a bad thing. I think it's good to see, you know, on a more regular basis what everybody in your school is doing. So hopefully what we're seeing is a higher level of education, a higher level of teaching and learning, a more varied level of instruction, a more integrated use of different technologies. You know, I'm very interested in what happens with education, particularly in the next 10 or 15 years, simply because that's when my kids will be moving through. You know, with a kindergartner through a 7th grader, the next 10 years to 15 years kind of dictates what happens with their education and where they end up. So I'm very heavily invested in that, particularly, you know, being a Montville resident as well. What happens here is going to directly affect my children and my family. So yeah, I'm very heavily involved and heavily invested, and that's part of the reason that I do it. And
it's also part of the reason you're Teacher of the Year for 2014. Congratulations. And you know what?
Thank you.
It's been a great interview, and thank you for coming into the studio today.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
That wraps up another segment of Eye on Education, all things educational in the town of Montville. Thanks for viewing our segment today, and tune in again in a few weeks for a new episode under the same banner. My name is Dave Rowley. Good day.